I want to welcome everyone to the webinar, Going Blind and Going Forward, sponsored by the National Eye Institute and the Going Blind, Going Forward Awareness Campaign, in conjunction with the Veterans Health Administration and the New Hampshire Association for the Blind. I'm Rosie Januszewski from the National Eye Institute, and I will be your moderator for today. I want to let you also know that this is a record number of participants. We have 394 people signed on to participate today, which is fabulous. I want to thank all of you. I'd like to introduce our speakers today: Joe Lovett, director, producer, and writer of the film Going Blind; Julie Gainan, outreach coordinator for Going Blind and Going Forward; George Theriault, president and CEO with the New Hampshire Association for the Blind; and Stacy Palmer, VIS coordinator with the Veterans Health Administration, New York Harbor Healthcare System. Before we begin, I want to share some statistics with you. These statistics come from Prevent Blindness America and the National Eye Institute. Currently, there are 4.2 million people that are blind or visually impaired in the U.S. In 2030, that number is expected to increase to 7.2 million, and by 2050, 13 million people. Many of these people can be helped with vision rehabilitation, which helps people make the most of their remaining vision. What I would like to do now is to introduce the next speaker, Joe Lovett, who is the director-producer of Going Blind, and also to let you know that over 200 organizations nationwide have viewed this film, and I think you'll enjoy listening to Joe about the opportunities that await you in participating in this project. Joe?
Thank you, Rosie. I'm really thrilled that such an army of care providers has signed up for this NEHAP webinar. And I can't thank you, Rosie, and your NEI team enough for all the help you've given this project since its beginnings. I also have to thank all of our funders, but I want to tell you about the major ones. Our major funders have been the Reader's Digest Partners for Sight Foundation, who's given us ongoing support, guidance, and inspiration. Pfizer Ophthalmics, who got our message out to a physician audience and made them aware of the film and its issues even before we were finished with the editing. The DeCoisart Charitable Trust, Gibney Family Fund, the Allergan Foundation, and the NEI supported both the film production and different phases of our outreach. And I should note that Alcon gifted every optometry school with a copy of Going Blind. Now, full disclosure. I am part of an international conspiracy. Our goal is to change the standard of care and best practices for patients with progressive eye disease. That change is a simple one. Make patients and the public aware of all the tools available to sight-compromised people so that they know help and training are available if and when they need it anywhere on the visual loss spectrum. I know that you can use Going Blind screenings and discussions to improve the lives of people in your communities. Going Blind premiered at the World Ophthalmology Congress in Berlin 2 years ago. After that screening, physicians commented that they had never had any idea of what their patients were going through before they saw the film. This was quite a statement and really surprised me, but made me think about how important this film could be. So we've had an educational outreach for the past 2 years to help everyone, physicians, service providers, patients, people with dogs and canes, and the general public to have an idea about what help is available along the vision loss spectrum. We have been changing general attitudes as well. After one screening, a viewer wrote, "I have always felt uncomfortable with blind people because I didn't know what to say. I was afraid of doing the wrong thing. As a result, I avoided talking to them. I won't do that anymore." Going Blind has been shown at academic centers and NGOs all over the world, from Malaysia to Finland, from Sydney to Bucharest. And we're pleased that Going Blind is being used for CME credit by the American Academy of Ophthalmologists. I've got some clips here to give you just a flavor of the film.
I knew that I could be injured. I knew that I could get hurt, but I never knew that I'd lose my vision.
Before I lost my sight, I was an artist, and I lost my sight within 8 months. You learn how to use what you have.
I don't want to be identified as a blind person. And I am one of those people because I can't see the crosswalk.
The prospect of going blind terrifies me. Yeah, so I don't see your right hand, really. I don't see your left arm at all.
You see, I have glaucoma, and I've been clicking for almost 20 years. You can see how the disease is robbing me of my sight.
My way of dealing with fear and terror is to confront it.
We'll do the right eye first, okay?
I was fortunate to be diagnosed and treated early. But with the sight I've been losing, I have to be prepared. So I started talking to people who've lost their sight. I stopped them on the street and hear what happened to them.
How did you lose your vision?
In a car accident.
Accidents and diseases like retinitis pigmentosa, diabetic retinopathy, age-related macular degeneration. They were so generous with their stories, and the stories so fascinating, that I decided to make this film. I first met Jessica Jones when she was training her guide dog, Chef. Jessica had lost her sight 4 years before to diabetic retinopathy, an all too common complication of diabetes.
Well, you know, what I've been fearing is the loss of independence. I mean,
Right.
that really scares me.
Right. I have lots of friends who have lost their sight, who lost their sight 30 years ago,
Yeah.
and they still can't leave the house. And I just couldn't, I just can't sit back and let people do stuff for me,
Yeah.
you know?
And what about your work?
Well, I'm a teacher.
Uh-huh.
Before I lost my sight, I was an artist and a teacher, an art teacher in the New York City public school system.
And you're able to support yourself?
Yeah.
And what she does very well. So well that the Metropolitan Museum of Art's outreach program invited Jessica to conduct a seminar for children with special needs.
This is Sekhmet, and Sekhmet is a goddess, okay? Sekhmet has the feet of a woman, she's got the legs of a woman, she's got the hands and the arms of a woman, but she has the face of a lion. So here, being able to touch something is being able to see. That is how they were born seeing, was with their hands. It is as utterly natural for them to gain information that way. As natural as it would have been for myself to gain information through my eyes, 7 years ago.
Did you find a dog there, Connor?
Oh, here.
Wow. Now, is it a whole dog or is it part person?
Whole dog.
It's a whole dog. You're going to find lots of different kinds of just animals on here. And you know what else? There's lots of snakes.
Aren't you a little amazed at where you are and what you accomplish on a day-to-day basis?
No, and I'm constantly being reminded that I should be.
How is it that somebody who 7 years ago was trying to figure out how on earth am I going to ever get by, and you live this life that you do with these people whose lives you change?
Because
what's the disconnect?
Honestly, because that's just my type A personality, that I can always do better. I can always be doing more. Quite honestly, and yeah, it just. Because really, I don't look at it as something that's so wonderful or amazing. It's just going on with my life.
I've been speaking about the film Going Blind and its issues all over the country, and I'd like to share some of the thoughts that have come up with you today. I started my medical reporting at ABC's 2020 at the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. The activism of the AIDS advocates, their involvement with the management of their disease and with their faith, has inspired and changed the world of patient advocacy and collaboration. So you can imagine my surprise when I entered the world of the visually impaired 20 years later. Though some of the sensitivities were similar, the response has been very different. I had to ask myself, Is the affected population informed? Is information readily available to get people the vision enhancement services they require to lead full, active lives? Are public fears addressed so that people with vision loss would not be seen as pariahs? Are the issues of sight loss research and training being addressed with any urgency? I find the answer for that, for the most part, is no. And the reason, I think, is fear. And that fear and the prejudice that it engenders precludes the public, patients, and physicians from knowing about the lives of the visually impaired. I've learned that when formerly sighted individuals start to lose their vision, they often turn that prejudice against themselves, leaving them anxious, despairing, and depressed. And this is where you all come in, until they learn about vision enhancement skills and technologies that can give them their lives back. To be fair, we all live in a world in which people think blindness equals death, that to lose your vision is the end of your life, and for the physician, a failure. But we can change this paradigm into blindness gives a new perspective. I had thought that you had to have perfect vision to be happy, to function well. I thought sight loss was a terrible tragedy that could never be overcome, that it was the end of a journey, and that attitude was often echoed back at me at the doctor's office. But the people I met in the course of making Going Blind showed me how skills and technology can make the world very accessible to me, not in the same way as if I were perfectly sighted, but accessible and navigable, physically, intellectually, and emotionally. And we want to share what I learned with everyone. This fall, we have some amazing opportunities to get the word out about the issues we're all concerned about. The first opportunity is, of course, this webinar. Then, on September 19th, we'll be having a congressional screening at the Rayburn Building in D.C. to alert legislators and their aides about the help available to their constituents. Steve Vasquez and Jessica Jones from the film, Dr. Suleiman Alabai, a noted low-vision optometrist, and Dr. Robert Murphy, a noted ophthalmologist, will be among the panelists. Please invite your own representatives from the House and the Senate to this important event so that they know that their own constituents are concerned about these matters. Then on October 6th, public TV stations across the country will begin showing Going Blind. We have over 100 organizations across the country as outreach partners who can support these broadcasts with information on local resources. Where local stations are not airing the film, many of these partners will be having community screenings. And as a matter of fact, many of the partners will be having community screenings even where there are broadcasts going on. Many of these organizations have been very creative with plans to bring attention to our issues, with flash mobs, blindfolded walks down Main Street, and other creative ideas like dining in the dark and other things. Lastly, though our funders have been very generous, this is a huge outreach effort. So we are launching a crowdsourced funding campaign on Indiegogo to help fund this fall's expenses and continue the educational outreach. So please go to indiegogo.com/goingblindmovie. We launched today. Thank you very much. Once again, you can find out more about Going Blind at goingblindmovie.com. And now for Julie Gainan, our outreach coordinator.
Hi, I'm Julie Gainan, and I'm the outreach coordinator for Going Blind and Going Forward. Thanks for passing it over, Joe. And I want to talk to you today about our outreach toolkit. Our outreach toolkit, which is also called Going Blind and Going Forward, is available free online for download at the website you see on the screen, or goingblindmovie.com/outreach-toolkit. The toolkit is a step-by-step guide that demonstrates how to use Going Blind as a tool to raise awareness in your community. In the toolkit, you will find information on how to organize a screening with sample invitations, guidelines for organizing a post-screening panel discussion, a list of reference organizations by region who can help you find panelists, sample letters to the editor to alert the press, and resources including facts about vision loss and instructions on how to use the Amsler grid that you can distribute to participants. The process laid out in the Outreach Toolkit has been a proven method for many organizations, and you'll hear more about this from George Theriault at the New Hampshire Association for the Blind, who will follow me. Next, I want to talk about our online community. With our outreach campaign, we've created an online community. Our website, goingblindmovie.com, is frequently updated with information on screenings, news on the film and the outreach community, and with resources, including links to organizations and information on vision loss. From our website, you can access downloads of the Outreach Toolkit, the film's press kit, publicity stills to promote your screening, and a PDF of the film's poster, which you can personalize for your event. We also have social media pages on Facebook and on Twitter to keep followers up to date about our upcoming events. We also use Facebook and Twitter to stay connected to our outreach organizations and to promote upcoming screenings of the film to help organizations build an audience. On the screen, I have a graph showing the range of different types of organizations that purchase the film. These include blind service organizations, libraries and schools, Veterans Affairs centers, medical centers, and outpatient clinics, physicians and medical institutions, and other, which signifies individual users and organizations that have bought multiple copies. Different types of organizations are using the film in different ways. Blind service organizations typically use the film to draw new members into their services. Medical institutions are using the film to educate physicians and medical students to increase patient sensitivity and so that they will recommend patients to low vision services. Public schools and libraries are using the film to educate the general public, often partnering with other organizations to host events. In all uses of the film, we have found that audience engagement following a screening is the best practice. This can be done through a panel discussion, question and answer session, or audience talkback. In the picture on screen of a panel is a panel of low vision specialists, ophthalmologists, and blind and visually impaired individuals. As the quote illustrates, people from different disciplines coming together to discuss what's best for the patient is the best thing a panel can offer. We distribute our film to organizations with our educational use DVD, which allows for public performance rights in perpetuity, meaning you can host as many public screenings of the film as you like, which includes using the film to fundraise for your organization. The educational use DVD is $250 and is chaptered, subtitled, and audio described. The chapters break down the 90-minute film into segments, organized chronologically, by character, and by eye disease, so you can use the film in different settings. Stacy Palmer of the Manhattan VA will talk more about this. The funds from the DVD go directly back into the outreach campaign, which brings the film to more organizations across the country and around the world. My contact information is listed on the screen, and I'll read it out to you as well. My phone number is 212-242-8999, extension 26. Again, 212-242-8999, extension 26. And my email is Julie, Julie, @loveitproductions.com. Please reach out to us. We are here to help you use the DVD in your own community. And let us know if you'd like to be an outreach partner for our upcoming October public television broadcast initiative. Or if you'd like to be added to our resources list, either on the website or on the outreach toolkit, let us know. And if you have plans for using the film, also get in touch with us and become a part of the outreach community. Thank you for your time, and now I will pass you off to George Theriault of the New Hampshire Association for the Blind.
Thank you so much, Julie. I consider it a great honor to be invited to participate on this panel today, and I want to thank Joe Lovett, the National Eye Institute, and the numerous funders who have made this film available for all of us who are committed to building awareness about low vision and blindness. Let me quickly describe the New Hampshire Association for the Blind. We're a private, nonprofit, statewide vision rehabilitation service provider, the primary source of social work, adjustment counseling, low vision services, rehabilitation teaching, orientation and mobility training, as well as group and volunteer services for New Hampshire people of all ages. We are heavily reliant on philanthropy. We work in partnerships with the eye medical community, with state services. We receive referrals from many community agencies and organizations. We have a long-time direct mail public education and fundraising program, and we continuously do presentations at service clubs and organizations around our state. In 2010, we began planning how to celebrate our 100th anniversary as an all-New Hampshire organization. We were committed to creating as much public awareness as possible through as many activities as possible with no budget. Our theme is Living Better with Vision Loss, a tagline that is intended to encourage people to generate hope and to suggest the outcome of rehabilitation services. We became aware of the film Going Blind. After seeing the film, we knew we should make it a keystone activity for our 100th anniversary public awareness campaign. The film illustrates the success of rehabilitation services, carrying many messages of hope and accomplishment, and very importantly, unabashedly confronts the underlying fears and the denial so often experienced by people coping with vision loss, feelings that too often create a barrier to getting help. We set a goal of 25 to 30 presentations statewide, and I'm sure you all know New Hampshire has a lot of small towns, and while we're small, we have mountains. We relied heavily on the toolkit provided on the Going Blind website, but we modified as needed for each setting. Venues since the spring of 2011 that we have shown the film at include multiples of community theaters and opera houses, libraries, retirement communities, senior centers, hospitals, health promotion organizations, one VA center, colleges, churches, and municipal centers. We tried to concentrate on venues that could actively promote the showings in their local communities and also would be most likely to attract a senior population. We saw this as an excellent way to involve and strengthen partner relationships. Ophthalmologists, optometrists, state agencies, vocational rehabilitation, other referral sources, Lions clubs, consumer groups, and the venues themselves. We involved volunteers, spreading word in their community, putting up posters, making arrangements. Key management staff and board members all took responsibility for presentations and acted as moderators. We sent invitations to all donors living near each venue and to clients past and present. In some cases, we purchased paid advertising, but mostly relied on free broadcast, newspaper, and community events listings. As goals were developed, and we saw how many possibilities there would be, we realized that we needed to seek some funding. And, fortunately, we received a significant grant from Citizens Bank Foundation, thanks to Citizens Bank of New Hampshire and Vermont. Lions clubs have also contributed generously to local showings. The money is paid for mailings, for room fees at some of the venues, and for buying multiple copies of the DVDs. But overall, our budget for this, with the grant and the Lions Club help, has been minor. Our panels, the expert panels, typically are composed of one or two ophthalmologists, an optometrist, client-consumer representative, a member of executive management acting as moderator, sometimes board members, many of whom are former clients, and VR counselors. Several doctors commented after their participation on the panels that they now understood that they should be sending and referring many more of their patients to the Association for Rehab Services. Who attended the films? Members of the general public, residents of facilities such as retirement homes, and many blind and visually impaired people and their families, thus opening the door for help, reducing anxiety about asking for help, and learning that they're not alone. By October, we will have done 25 presentations and plan to continue into the future. The impacts that we have measured so far are strengthened ties with the eye doctors and referral sources, such as retirement communities, health agencies, and hospitals, and we've received many new client referrals. We feel that showing Going Blind has created a large public awareness impact. We feel that our outreach has been effective in promoting awareness, but we also know there's so much more to be done. I would like to strongly recommend that any organization with an interest in blindness and vision impairment take advantage of the film Going Blind. Just think of the power of film, how it can bring credibility and authority to the messages we all work so hard to promote. Thank you for your interest. And now I'd like to turn it over to Stacy Palmer.
Thank you for the invitation to participate on this panel today. As the VIST coordinator at the Manhattan VA, part of the New York Harbor healthcare system, I have the opportunity to increase disability awareness in the medical setting. I myself am legally blind with Stargardt disease, and I see the value of this film both professionally and personally. When using the documentary, it's critical to identify who your target audience is going to be. I provide outreach to 3 primary populations. First, healthcare professionals in a wide range of disciplines. Many VA medical centers, as you know, are teaching hospitals with academic affiliations, and I'm reaching both trainees and licensed clinicians in all specialty areas. Now, this may include ophthalmology and optometry, but it also resonates with other disciplines such as physical medicine, primary care, nursing, and mental health fields. I'm also targeting administrative departments in the hospital, whether it's the Veterans Benefits Administration or clerical program support. A second group I'm reaching are stakeholders, and at the VA, this may be both sighted and visually impaired veterans, and for non-VA medical settings, it would be patients or clients that are affected by the services provided. And lastly, caregivers and the general public. This could include family members or home health aides that escort patients to their medical appointments, and they benefit from this disability outreach to decrease common misconceptions regarding blindness. I now want to share some examples of how I've used Going Blind as a tool at the VA. I really want to encourage you to think outside the box and be creative in your own medical settings. First, I've screened the documentary in my weekly support groups using the audio description option that was mentioned by Julie, and facilitating discussion about their reactions to the film and adjustment to vision loss. Second, I've incorporated continuous screenings of the documentary throughout the day, and this enables audiences to view a portion or all of Going Blind at their own convenience. The flexibility is really critical in the medical setting because clinicians have scheduled patient appointments and meetings. New York Harbor VA has 3 campuses, and this past spring, between myself and another VIST coordinator, we've hosted screenings of the documentary at all the campuses. We also host an annual White Cane Day event in October for Disability Awareness Month, and this year Going Blind is going to play throughout the event on a projector. Another option is having a dialogue with a featured character, and New York Harbor has the luxury of working with one of the individuals that's represented in this documentary. Pat Williams is a visually impaired employee working in the home-based primary care department, and she generously donated her time to hold a lunchtime question and answer session at all 3 New York Harbor campuses. This was a great way to engage the audience by personalizing her own experiences adjusting to vision loss. Lastly, highlighting a specific character captures an audience quickly. Depending on the time constraints when I'm doing a VA in-service, I'll show the 10-minute segment on Steve Vasquez, a veteran blinded by an explosion in Iraq, and I'll emphasize the available VA blind rehabilitation resources and his ability to overcome disability. I use a variety of strategies to promote disability awareness at the VA, and for events and programs that are open to the public, I'll send emails to VA employees, and I'll target other specialized email distribution lists. Create and post flyers around the hospital and send other community organizations the flyer, and an example is should be on the screen. Information is also included in a newsletter that is sent to all visually impaired veterans, followed by New York Harbor VIST coordinators, and incentives are offered to increase interest. I've promoted raffle drawings to make it a more fun experience, educational credit for employees, and refreshments will always draw a crowd. When I'm providing VA in-services and workshops to employees, communication and coordination with the department chairs are key to ensuring that all disciplines are offered this educational opportunity, especially when residents and trainees are rotating so frequently. I also provide folders that contain low vision resource materials, which will include the National Eye Institute brochure, and I incorporate low vision simulators as an interactive component. This is a great tool to allow individuals to experience visual diagnoses described in both Going Blind and in the National Eye Institute brochure to increase their sensitivity to vision loss as they're working with veterans. I hope this has given you some examples of how to use the film in your own medical center. I'm looking forward to continuing to incorporate Going Blind into future outreach efforts in the VA. Thank you, and I'll turn this over to Rosie.
Thank you, Stacy. Before we move on, I want to share some new resources that the NEI will have probably later this month that will complement Going Blind. As Stacy showed you the old What You Should Know About Low Vision, well, we've updated that booklet, as you can see here, which has new information, and it also now contains a DVD which profiles people living with low vision. It's a very inspiring and emotional video that we hope all of you will order. It will be available in quantities that you could order to support your local programs. To understand or to be informed about when the new resources are available, I encourage you to subscribe to the NEI listserv Inside NEI at insidenei@list.nih.gov, or to watch the NEHAP website, which is www.nei.gov/NEHEP. We'll also let people know, people that have registered for this webinar will also alert you when those materials are available. And now what I'd like to do is to answer some of your questions. All of the speakers are available to answer your questions, and you can send your questions via the chat. If you have a question for a specific person, please indicate that in your message. I have two questions here, and I think Joe or Julie, you can answer these. What accessible format is the movie available in, and what is the cost of the movie?
The movie it's in DVD, and as Julie said, the movie is 90 minutes in length. However, it's chaptered into like 8 and 10-minute chapters, both chronologically and according to character and an eye issue, so that people can show it in a shorter setting for busy physicians, as Stacy mentioned, and things like that. The cost is $250. And you're not buying the piece of plastic. You're buying, it's an intellectual property. You're buying all rights so that you can use it to show it over and over and over again, use it for your own fundraising purposes, use it for your awareness purposes, partner with other organizations and things like that, so as George has done. It is also audio described, and it is also subtitled in Spanish and subtitled in English.
And Joe, I think this is another question for you. When is the PBS showing scheduled?
Well, it's not. It's the public television is not necessarily how we all think it is. It's not like the same kind of a network. So the program is going to be aired at different times by each local station. So you have to check with your local listings. The first one that we know of to date is October 6th. Both on WLIW and also KOCE in Southern California.
Salt Lake City.
And Salt Lake City, sorry. Yeah, you can check our website for all that information.
Okay. And there's another question. And George, I think this one is for you. What is the best way to fundraise as a nonprofit company for the screenings?
Well, I think that there may be several answers to that. If the questioner is asking what's the best way to attract some funding for, say, an ongoing series of presentations such as we've done, I would certainly consider corporate prospects as a first priority. I think that it depends on your local circumstances and what kind of contacts you may have with various funding sources, sometimes community foundations or donor-advised funds. It would depend on the size of the budget that you were looking for. In our case, the grant that we received was for $15,000, and we have yet to complete expending that.
Okay, George, here's another question for you. Have you seen an increase in referrals from doctors since you've had these showings in New Hampshire?
We have a new client services database, and we are recording this information. We haven't had the new database up and running long enough to really be able to give a lot of detailed information, but the short answer is yes, we have, and quite a few from people who attended the film, or the film was attended by family members or friends. So definitely we feel that the film contributed to people's, removing some of the barriers that people have felt, especially psychological ones.
Yeah, if I could just throw something in here. I was being treated for glaucoma with loss for about 15 years before I heard about low vision therapy, and that was from a friend whose aged father was in low vision therapy in Miami, and I had never heard the term. So we need to get this terminology out as well so that people can avail themselves of services. People don't even know that this word exists.
Stacy, this question is for you. Where can I get the vision simulator goggles that you mentioned in your presentation?
I use, it's called Zimmerman Kit, I believe. I think I can check, and you can send me an email at stacy.palmer@va.gov, but you can pretty much get it through Independent Living Aids, any of the main, catalogs that we order through. And they're really great because they have about 4 different goggles, and you can put in and out different eye conditions. So you could have one eye that's macular degeneration and another eye with glaucoma tunnel vision. So it's really a good experience.
Joe, this is for you. There's 2 questions. Can the video be posted on an organization's website? And also, can it be downloaded to a personal computer?
It can be downloaded from a personal computer through our website. Through iTunes and Amazon.com. It can be streamed from our website, goingblindmovie.com, for individual use. Can it be put on an organization's website? We've been talking about that, and that's still a conversation, and that's a technology conversation that we're trying to work out. But if somebody's interested, they should get in touch with us.
Okay. Joe, this is another question for you. This is from Teresa Shea at the NIH. She says, Joe, you and I met last year at NIH. In the past year, have you invested in any rehabilitation training for yourself?
Actually, I've been going through some kinds of eye therapy that have been very helpful to me. That I haven't, beyond my original training for low vision, I haven't received any other training. I've been getting along quite well. I'm still driving, quite honestly. I still ride my bike. I read without any problem. So right now, my vision in my right eye in particular is pretty good, my central vision, and my left eye has its problems, but it complements the right eye. So right now, I'm not in a position where I need a cane or I need considerable enlargement beyond what the computer already gives you.
And this is a question, I think, for the entire group. Are there any DVDs or videos you would recommend for employers? Stacey, you might want to contact about how you use that with the VA and with your staff there.
I use this primarily because, especially the fact that they have a segment on Steve Vasquez, who has gone through a VA blind rehabilitation center, and a lot of times when I'm working with the VA, the different providers send the veterans to me to then send them to appropriate referrals, but they don't even know what referrals they're going to be receiving. So it's a really good way for them to know that. As far as other employers, I know that I have some patients that work at other locations, and I haven't really thought about that, but that would be a really good way to educate them as well for reasonable accommodations.
I know that there's I think it's important that all films about blind people be seen more and more because there's so little information about people who are blind and visually impaired. There's a very nice film I think it's out already, called Can You See in Color? And it's about teenagers talking about dealing with being blind and visually impaired. And it's a lovely film. It's a very different film from ours, and I think that's something nice to see. Oh, somebody asked, I saw in the chat, about the cost. The single DVD that you buy, the educational version, is captioned and translated, et cetera, and divided into chapters. It's one price for all of those services.
We have another question, Joe. This one is for you. Is the video compatible with projection at an IMAX theater?
At an IMAX theater? I think, no, we don't know. I don't know. But we can find out for you. I think it was shown at an IMAX theater in Toronto, to tell you the truth, but I don't remember, but the Canadian National Institute for the Blind licensed the film for the entire country. We can find out for anybody who's interested. Sure. And this is another question. How are educational credits offered for people viewing the video?
For VA employees, we have something called the Talent Learning System, or Talent Management System, and I worked with the educational coordinator at our facility to make a registration page for the event. And then once someone was registered and then they signed in at the event, they were granted the credits, because at least at my facility, we have to get a certain amount each year, so it, increases interest. And for the AAO, the Mary Lou Jackson, Dr. Mary Lou Jackson from Mass Pioneer, who's head of low vision for AAO, uses the film in a presentation for CME. And it's not the whole film, but she uses selected segments to illustrate her points in educating young residents. We have another question from Heidi. Can we charge a nominal fee per person as a, quote, fundraiser? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no reason not to, and that's perfectly fine. And once you purchase the film, you can use it for all kinds of activities like that. And, Joe, we have another question that I think this is relevant due to your upcoming congressional showing. A listener asked, how can the movie be used at state legislatures? Oh, that's a very good question. They're obviously on our wavelength. In talking with some of the outreach partners in the past few months, when we were talking about having the congressional screening, they said, shouldn't this be on a state-to-state basis as well, which we think is a fantastic idea. And that's, once we finish the congressional screening, that's going to be our next phase of outreach, trying to coordinate state legislative screenings around the country. And we're very interested in people's help on that. George, we have a question for you. Has the New Hampshire Association for the Blind done any specific outreach to local doctors and or their office staff to attend a screening of the film? Absolutely. We have a very close relationship with the New Hampshire Society of Eye Physicians and Surgeons, which are the ophthalmologists. There are about 35 members of that group. In fact, their executive director coordinates the doctors who wish to volunteer for our expert panels. So with nearly every showing, we've had different doctors. And as I mentioned in my presentation, this has meant a real significant strengthening of our relationship with the eye doctors and their understanding of the value of rehab services. Doctors are a primary referral source for our services. But, as always, I think most agencies like ours would report that you have a lot of referrals from a few doctors. But the experience of the doctors serving on these panels, they've learned a great deal from the film and a great deal from other responses to questions. I would like to mention also, I meant to in my presentation, the thoughtfulness of the questions that come from an audience of 80, 90, or 100 people is often astounding. I know that there are people who have, in a public way, explained that they were legally blind, probably for the first time in any public way. The questions are profound, and
it often presses the panel to really give good, helpful information. We see this as a tremendously healthy experience, especially for the eye doctors and the potential clients in the audience.
We have a couple of more questions, Joe, related to the film. Is the entire film available for preview prior to purchase?
Yes, just contact us.
And that is by going to the website?
Yeah, they can contact us at just the contact page of the website. If you just go, the website is goingblindmovie.com. There's a contact page there, or you can go through Julie, and you can find out about that. And then there's another question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then there is, and I think this one answers the other questions that we have. One is, how do we purchase the film?
Oh, right.
And then the other one is, can the video be purchased by a state? Can the video be purchased by a state purchase order?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
You can email me to purchase the film. We also have a web page on our website. It's goingblindmovie.com/buy-film. That will give you a link if you're buying a credit card, or you can email me, and we definitely accept purchase orders.
Okay. And what we'll do following this webinar is we will send out everyone's contact information so you'll have it. So you can, and we'll also answer any questions that we didn't miss, but we still have a few more questions. Is the congressional showing open to people in the field of low vision?
Oh, of course, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, just you can just contact Julie, and she'll put you on the guest list.
And and people may also want to encourage your congressman to attend the film. If you're not in the local D.C. area, you might want to send them an email saying that you saw this film and participated in this webinar, and that you encourage them as their constituent to attend the viewing.
Right. If we can reach the people through email who've attended this webinar, we can send them invitations that they could send on to their legislators and their aides. And right. When you invite your legislators, you should certainly say, if you can't make it, we hope that people from your office will, because those are the people that feed back the information.
And another question is, will the webinar be available on the web? Yes. It will probably take several weeks for us to make it 508 compliant so that both the visually and hearing impaired will be able to view the webinar. We will send a notice when it's out, but I would say give us a few weeks so that we can make everything compliant, and it should be up. And you can view it and just search for it on the NEI website. And we'll also send you a notice when it comes out. And I want to thank everyone for participating, and a special thanks to our speakers, Joe, Julie, George, and Stacy. And let us know what you're doing to educate people in your communities about low vision and vision rehabilitation. My contact information is on this last page, on the last slide here under questions, rxj@nei.nih.gov. My phone number, please contact me. We will also answer any questions that we didn't get to during the chat. We'll review those and send those out and respond to you. Also, I understand I didn't give you the proper way to register for the listserv, so if you send me an email, I would be happy to add you to the Insight NEI listserv. Again, thank you for your participation, and thank you so much.